Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have a very important show for you to tune on into as tonight, 50 years ago, Travis Walton was allegedly abducted by aliens, and a man who was there, Steve Pierce, is going to join us to tell us his side of the story. It's going to be an amazing night of radio, and I am glad each and every one of you are here, including Tim Mothman and his goatee, literally sitting in the gold medal position. Kitty Caddywhack with a silver, Eternity Eternal with a bronze medal tonight. Race fan, how you doing? Kurt M, nice to see you. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you can't talk alien abduction without being lubed up. So thank you, Mel, for keeping us juiced. Robert Lamoth, how you doing, my friend? As we continue on with roll call. Thunderhead, Shelly Heaton, how are you? And Luscious Jules, thanks for coming on in. Down to Earth Common Sense, how you doing? Welcome back as we continue on with our roll call here. Mickey G, nice to see you. Little Cam on YouTube, so excited for tonight's show. He did 75 chin-ups in 10 minutes, 75 and 10. His arms are burning, but he's looking good. Exquisite, how you doing? Good to see you. Exquisite will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Digger Dog, good to have you here, my friend. Skip to Malou, good morning to you. Walter Kochabinski, nice to see you. And Alpine Fur and Panda on Fire. It's been a while since we had you here, Panda. Good to have you here. Delilah is here. Delilah will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Flat Sixer, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Mama Catherine, mwah. I love you, my dear. You're going to love this one. I promise. We're going to have some fun here. Undead Jed, thanks for coming on in. Al Garay over on Twitch. 50 dumbbell curls of 150 pounds in 50 seconds. Guy was jacked tonight. Just jacked. His forearms are killing him. Yep. Oahu Mac, I know who you are. How are you doing there? You know what? You know who Oahu Mac is? Well, let me show you. Right there. That's him right there. Oahu Mac. Gotta love him. God, I love that photo. I do. In the studio, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. And who else do we have here? We have I'm Hardcore over on X. Good to see you, my friend. And who's next on our list? Well, let's scroll on down to say Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Boondock, what's happening? What are you doing, Dave? Well, I'm hosting a radio show. What are you doing, Corey? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing, Corey? Oh, it's going to be a good night. Gonna be a good night. And let's see here. Jessica Davenport, nice to have you here again. It's been a while. And let's see here. Who else? Who else do we have? Francis Allen, welcome to SOR Chat. Good morning in Scotland. How are you? Carol Amario, nice to see you. Fapperoony, how you doing? My Willie, welcome to SOR Chat. Chaz Mataz, how you doing? Bobbert, nice to see you. MJ, thanks for coming on in. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have a special show for you. Steve Pierce is here. You may not recognize the name, but you'll recognize what he was a part of. It's the 50th anniversary of the Travis Walton incident. Super Chat is open on our YouTube side as Stargazer kicks things off. Thank you very much, Stargazer. We appreciate your love and support. And it's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Jose Sanchez, how you doing, my friend? Good to have you here. As we got 30 seconds before we're going to roll this one out. And if you have missed it, tickets are officially on sale for Caribou Con 2026, September 18th through 20th. Get your VIP tickets now. And of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So go get yourself some. Tim Mothman, how you doing, buddy? Ozzy Ange, nice to see you. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show tonight because it's the 50th year anniversary of the Travis Walton incident. Steve Pierce was there that night, and he's going to tell us this incredible story from his perspective going back half a century ago. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off, followed up by Katie Page and the Encounters. We're going to then, we're going to keep her a little longer. I haven't been in the mood for the Dave 101 recently. So we're going to continue with Katie, and then we're going to get into the weird news of the week. All right, let's hop on to it. Steve Pierce was only a teenager when he became part of one of the most famous UFO encounters in history, the 1975 Travis Walton abduction case in the Apache-Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona. As the youngest member of the logging crew that witnessed the blinding light, mysterious craft, Steve's life was forever changed that night. The shocking disappearance of Travis Walton and the intense media and government attention that followed really thrust Steve and his fellow crew members into a storm of skepticism, fear, crime, and disbelief. He's here to tell us his story about what happened that fateful night. Steve Pierce, it's your second time on Spaced Out Radio. And the one thing that I want to say to you is, this show tonight was your idea. And you, after we had you on the show a couple months ago, weren't very comfortable in wanting to do a lot of interviews, but you reached out and you said, Dave, I want to do this on the anniversary. And I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for the respect and love of what we do here in allowing the trust to build for us to tell your story.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, for having me back.
50 years ago, you woke up to go to work. Did you ever think that you would be a part of history?
No, I never thought this would get this big. I think it would. It's still mind blowing. 50 years ago, let's see what now. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock. 50 years ago, about now, we're talking to the cops. Travis has already been zapped, and we're probably talking to the, because they, when Kenny called them, you want me to start telling the story, or what do you want?
Let's just warm the audience up. You were 17 years old. I'm going to assume a high school dropout. You went to go to work probably for situations that whatever it is was. What was your life prior to this event like?
I went to work because my mom needed the money, and I lived at home. I had an uncle and a cousin that worked there the week before, and they quit that Halloween, and that's how I got the job, was through them. And I was going to quit too, but my mom wouldn't let me quit because Mike wasn't paying.
So you took it upon yourself to go to work to help mom out. I think that's pretty admirable. Doesn't happen a lot today, but the fact that you would do that, I mean, shows a kind of young man you were at that point. Were you a popular guy?
My mom.
Were you a popular guy? Did you have a lot of friends?
Not really. I mostly stayed to myself.
When you woke up that morning, I guess it was just like any other day, wasn't it?
Well, when I got up that morning, went over there, and I had to walk from where my mom lived to Mike's house, and yeah, it was just like a regular day. I got over there, and Mike, and not Mike, but Alan Dallas and Travis is arguing like always over. I don't know, they're fighting over a girl, I guess. But well, that was just a regular day.
And
actually, it was kind of different because everybody on the crew was new. That was today was the third day I knew John Gillette. I knew Dwayne Smith, Kenny Peterson. I knew Alan Dallas before, and I knew who Mike and Travis was. But them three I didn't know until Monday, a couple of days ago.
As you got ready for work, it's typical. I mean, you got the tension building. I know living in a logging community that I live in central British Columbia, those men and women, they go to work and they get up at dark. Doesn't matter whether it's summertime or wintertime. They're up at dark and they're not home until dark because you got to get the job done because you don't get paid until the job is complete. And for you having to do that at such a young age, working that hard out in the forest. I mean, what was going through your mind at this time?
Working out there?
Yeah.
I hated it. Well, all it was like was cleaning the yard. All I did was pick up branches and stack them a certain way so the forest department, we weren't loggers. We just they would chop trees down 5 inches or smaller and to thin out the forest. And me and Kenny Peters, Dwayne Smith, we would stack them, and we'd have to stack it a certain way so that when the forest department came, they could burn it.
Yes, I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen, and it's got to be done a certain way because of safety to the other trees and the fauna in the forest, so you don't cause a forest fire or anything like that.
Yeah, Mike used to bitch about that all the time. It's got to be done a certain way.
Very true. Very true. Prior to this happening, what did you at such a young age know about UFOs?
Nothing. There was when we first moved to Snowflake, we lived outside of town, and there was no electricity out there running water, and there was this ridge that you could see over one side of us, and you could see a light flying around up there. And I guess that'd be the first time I actually, but at the time I didn't know what it was, if it was a UFO, because I've never even, they say in the movie that we were looking at a magazine. That's not true. There was no UFO magazine in there. We never talked about it. I mean, they might have. Mike and Travis, they talk about some, but there was no magazine in there.
So you guys had seen a previous UFO prior to this incident. When was that?
It was the summer before. It was a couple months, the summer before I saw the UFO. Travis getting zapped. They had some mutilated cows too. Also, me and my brother came across one, and that was kind of strange.
Oh wow! Was there any other weird things that happened in that mountain range that you couldn't explain, or stories that you had heard of?
There was a 2-headed calf born. And just the cattle. When this happened, there was cattle mutilation going on at the same time.
And were they free ranging the cattle up in the mountains there as they do here in BC?
Yeah, I think, yeah, they was open. It was like open range, I guess you could call it. I don't know.
That had to be like, looking at that point in your life, you're 17 years old, and you're probably, before this incident, sitting here thinking, this is it. This is what I was in a rush to grow up for, is to go work my ass off out in the mountains of the forest. I mean, you must have had a lot of those thoughts back then as a teenager.
To me, it was just to go to work and make some money. So, I've been working since I was 12 years old. So, and it was either that or go to school, and I didn't want to go to school, and my mom wasn't going to sit around there and not do nothing. So I either had to go to school or go to work.
Different times where that was common sense, but I mean, you had to help put food on the table. You had to help, pay the bills, pay the rent, put clothes on your back. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility for a young man, especially when, I guess at that time, please correct me if I'm wrong, the Vietnam War had just kind of wrapped up around that time. So I guess there was no worry for you at that time about being drafted.
Saigon fell the same year, didn't it? Saigon fell in 1975. That's when Vietnam was over.
Yeah.
No, I was lucky. They stopped the draft 3 or 4 years before I was even old enough to worry about it.
Well, that's good. That's good. So take us through your day. You get up on the mountain on November 5th, 1975. Just like any ordinary day, you pack your lunch, you get in the vehicle, probably half asleep on the drive up. How far was were you going up the mountain from town?
From Snowflake to, I don't know, it takes about 30, 45 minutes. I was there a couple months ago. I drove through there. That place sure does look different.
A lot of advancement, I bet, right?
Yeah, a lot more houses. There's a Walmart there in Taylor now. It looks a lot different.
What did town look like prior to that for those of us who've never been there?
Well, when I lived there wasn't even a red light or nothing. Now there's red lights, and it was small. It was really small. Now there's lights everywhere. You go through there, and
let's see. What was the population back then when you were there?
I don't know. I don't know the population. It wasn't, the Snowflake wasn't very big back then.
Well, today the population is around 6,736. So let's see what it was like in 1975. So in 1975, it had a population of approximately 3,500 people, which is small enough where everybody kind of knows everybody. So when you were walking around town, I'm sure people knew who you were and people knew who Mike and Travis were at that time, because that's kind of what small communities do. You know one another.
Well, actually, they all knew each other, not me. I wasn't very sociable, I guess. I don't know.
You go to work that day, you drive the 30 to 45 minutes up the hill, you're in the back seat. And unlike the movie where it says there's only 6 people, there's actually 7 crammed into that truck.
Yeah, there was 3 in the front and 4 in the back. It was Alan Dallas, then me, then John, and then Dwayne Smith was behind Mike. That was the 4 in the back, and then it was Mike, Kenny Peterson, and Mike was driving. Travis Walton. I mean, it was Travis on the shotgun side, and then Kenny in the middle, then Mike.
You worked until it was dusk. You had your breaks. I mean, I guess at this time of the year, the good news is it's getting a little bit colder out. So it's easier to work in the cold rather than in the heat of Arizona.
It gets cold there. I'll tell you what, that morning, I had to go to the bathroom, and there you just, find wood, find somewhere to go. And I was bending over, and I got a wasp, felt something, and I got surrounded by wasps. I'm running towards John and swiping the wasp off. I can pull on my pants up with one. If you look at some pictures of me back there, you can see where the wasp bit me. That was a bad day. I got bit by wasp and seen Travis get zapped.
Take us through, let's say, about half an hour before this incident happened. We got about 5 minutes to go here, and we're going to get into this big time in the next half hour. But the 5 minute or the 30 minutes before or hour before this whole thing happened, what was going through your day? You're coming to the end of the day. You're the young guy on the totem pole, so that means you're waiting for the boss. You're probably exhausted, waiting for the boss to say, "Okay, boys, let's call it the night."
Well, I was the gopher, so I had to put everything away, and I was ready to go home because we worked over that day, and we put a long day in that day. It was getting dark by the time we got ready to go, and we usually didn't work that he was usually off the mountain before it got dark.
Why did you guys stay a little bit later that day? Were you behind on your contract?
Yeah, we had to do certain much at a time before we get paid. You know, we didn't get so much done at a time, we didn't get paid or something like that. I'm not sure how it worked, but anyway, we were behind and we weren't getting paid. That's all I know.
Yeah, I hate when that happens where you got to put in the OT in order to make sure that paycheck arrives. Do you mind? And I don't ask this to be rude, but do you mind telling me at that point what was your salary? What were you getting paid an hour?
I never got paid, so I don't know. Mike still owes me money.
He never paid you.
I've never been paid for that job. He did send me some pictures, him autographing it. You know, here, you can have this picture and we can say we're even. Send me pictures. Why would I want an autograph picture of you? Yeah, he's owed me money for 50 years.
How much were you supposed to get paid an hour?
I don't know. It's been so long ago, I can't remember.
Probably around that. I'm going to assume that $3 an hour range, $2 to $3 an hour, maybe $4.
I'd say $3 to $5 an hour, something like that. But we didn't get paid by the hour. We got paid by whatever job, you know, how much work we got done.
Right. I mean, I remember, I know how that works. That's for sure. So an hour before, you guys are getting exhausted, you're getting a little upset that you have to work all this overtime because you're usually out of the bush by night. Wild animal wise, were you guys obviously worried about bears or mountain lions or wolves or anything like that?
No, I don't. No, we were never worried about that because the chainsaws would run them off, you know, making all that noise.
They didn't try to steal your sandwich at lunch?
No Bigfoot?
No Bigfoot trying to come up and say, hey, do you mind if I have a bite of your sandwich?
I can't believe it's 50 years. I can't get over it. It's 50 years. I haven't seen Travis. Let's see. Last time I seen Travis was Area 51. I think it was 2017. We got to, he was talking about bull riding. We were on our way back and we're heading back to Utah from Area 51, and he's talking about bull riding, and I told him, I says, I done that, got on a couple bulls. He said, oh, no, you didn't. I said, yeah, before Fire in the Sky, and you did yours after Fire in the Sky, and he goes, oh, you didn't do that. He never, ever believes anything I ever said, right? Never. And I told him, he says, yeah, I give this guy $5 and you sign a piece of paper and you can write a bull. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. But it's true. When my dad died, my mom's from Texas and her dad came and got her and we went back to Texas and it was cowboy town, and that's what the teenagers did. You could, go ride a bull.
Hold that thought. Steve Pierce is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He was there when Travis Walton got hit by the beam from a craft from who knows where, and he still can't believe it's the 50th anniversary of that fateful night. here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Paramarv, how you doing? What's the double duty, Jessica? What you doing there? Gorgeous Kim Jellin. Where have you been hiding, gorgeous Kim Jellin? How's your teeth? There's no way you got caught flossing your teeth for that long. And yes, the story is coming next. Tartar Saucer, how you doing? Doesn't Steve just seem like a nice guy? I like him. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, are you going to spend more than 2 hours hanging out with me at UFO Con next year? Like maybe 2.5 hours. If you ever get a chance to meet gorgeous Kim Jellin, she is one of the nicest people ever. She is so awesome and pleasant. Sometime I'm going to go back to the beard doctor to angle this up. That's because you cheer for the Dodgers. All right, let's bring Steve back in. My audience loves you, my friend. Oh, hold on. Do I have you on mute? Yeah, I got you on mute. My audience loves you.
Well, anyway, old Travis, he didn't believe me, man. He's never believed anything I've ever said to him. Even when I told him before, Paranormal Witness. You ever seen the sci-fi channel we were on, Paranormal Witness?
Yeah.
That came out in 2012. And I told Travis before that, I say, we didn't do all this. We didn't draw straws, because in the book it says that we drew straws. That's how we, who went first, took the polygraph test, right? Because we draw straws, who went first. That's not true. I told Travis, I says, they came after me,
Well, let's hold that thought until we get back on the air, because I do want to bring that up.
Oh, we're not on the air yet?
No, we got about 90 seconds.
Here I go. I'm a yakking.
I know I know you're pumped up about tonight. I know, and I am too. So it's we're gonna get to a lot here the next hour and a half, that's for sure. And it's all gonna be about you, my friend. This is your time. We got about a minute to go here. Thank you to Area 53 and Stargazer for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. And of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. And remember, if you look behind me right here, I'll zoom in for you. VIP tickets are now on sale at cariboucon.com. CARBOOCON. cariboucon.com. Get your VIP tickets for September 18th to 20th for next year, as we will put on, or Spaced Out Radio is helping put on, a great paranormal conference. Grant Cameron will be there. Merle will be there. The ladies from Beyond the Haunting television show will be there. Many will be there. B. Arthur will be there from the Paranormal Portal. Paisley Town numerologist. Lee Strauss is going to be there. R. Keith Andrews. Many, many more. We're putting together a great weekend. Juliana, how are you? Nice to see you. And we got 15 seconds to go here. So go get your tickets. CaribouCon.com. There's only 50 VIPs. And it's just a regular weekend. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We're so proud to have you as a listener of this show as we get ready to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Travis Walton incident. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Steve Pierce is with us tonight. 50 years ago, this day, he watched Travis Walton get hit by a beam of light. Didn't know if he was dead or alive, and he's reliving it today. Steve, thank you so much for being here. I know you've been replaying this in your head. You've said a couple of times, 50 years, man. 50 years already. Goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just can't believe it's 50 years. Where'd it go?
Let's get to the incident. I'm just going to let you talk.
What, you want me to tell the story or what?
Yeah, you pack up for the night. You go, you're all in the truck. You're heading towards home. And what happened?
Well, we see this object go to the right, and we can't tell what it is. And we get closer, and in the movie it says it looks like a fire, but it was solid white. It didn't look like no fire. So we got closer, and then when we got in front of it, Travis gets out. He don't walk straight up to it. He walks into an angle. He says he goes straight up to it, but he doesn't. And because if he went straight up to it when he got zapped, he would have hit the truck. But anyway, he stopped, and this thing's hovering in the air, and it starts rocking back and forth, and this bluish green light comes out, and it zaps him in the chest, and he falls back, and that's when Mike takes off, and in some reason, Mike had turned the motor off, and he had to restart it, and he takes off, and we get down the road a little bit, and we stop and get out, and in the movie, it shows that, Mike goes back by himself, but that's not true. There would have been a murder that night, his. But we all get out, and Mike, he falls to the ground. He's all upset, and he's losing it. I'm not saying a word. I just can't believe what happened. I thought the world was coming to an end, and finally, there's John and the Mormon, Kenny Peterson. They decided, well, we need to go back and look for Travis. So we all got back in the truck and went back looking for him. And we had one flashlight, and we looked around and we couldn't find him. And So we went into town and we found this phone booth, and Kenny Peterson, in the movie, it shows that Mike calls. Mike didn't do nothing. But anyway, Kenny calls, and they told us to go farther into town. So we went to the gas station, and we waited for him, and a couple cops showed up, and then finally Gillespie showed up, and the head sheriff, and he was looking around for beer cans and stuff, and so finally he said that Mike has to go back because he's the crew boss, and he wants 2 other people to go back. So Kenny Peterson and Alan Dallas went back, and me and John Goulet and Dwayne went back to Snowflake.
When that incident with Travis happened, how much did you see of it?
What, Travis getting zapped?
Yes.
I saw the whole thing. I'm the only one who could see the whole thing because there was plywood all the way around the truck, so you couldn't see out the back window, and it was to the right of us, and then when Alan was right here to my right, and then when we saw it, he hits the floorboard, and so when he hits the floorboard, I scoot over, and I could see everything. That's the reason Alan went back to look for Travis. We were in jail together a few years later, me and Alan Dallas, and he told me he didn't go back just to look for Travis. He went back to face his fears because of what he did with the floorboard. And that was the last time I saw Alan. The last time I saw John was at his wedding. He passed away too. Everybody in the back seat are dead except me.
All passing away throughout the years.
Yeah, I think they've all died of a heart attack too, I think.
When you saw the craft and it was kind of shuddering, how far was Travis from the craft when that beam of light came down and hit him?
About 20 feet, give or take, because we was maybe 40, 50 feet away.
Was everybody, like in the movie, yelling at him to get back in the vehicle?
Some of them were yelling. I was like in shock. I didn't say anything. I think Mike was hollering. I think they all was hollering. To me, when it happened, it seemed like everything started going into slow motion, and all I could see was what was in front of me, and you know what I mean. And I don't know.
Well, you're the youngest of the crew. It's, you're just going to try and take it all in.
Yeah. I don't think I would have freaked out about it if everybody else didn't. These guys are full grown guys, and they're freaking out worse than me.
I could understand that. As you're watching this, was the craft making any sound?
It had a beeping noise to it. It goes beep 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 beep, and then there was like a humming noise. And then when it started the humming noise, that's when the ray come out and zapped him. Because at first, it wasn't doing nothing with this just hovering there, and And then it started making a strange noise. It started rocking back and forth, and that's when the bluish green light came out and got Travis.
So it was a bluish green light that kind of hit him. Did it send him flying like we saw in the movie, or did he just kind of fall and stumble back?
I would say he just fall and stumbled back. I mean, through the years, it's exaggerated that he went 15, 20 feet. In the movie, it shows all this. No, it just hit him and he went back.
When he hit the ground, was everybody yelling at Mike to get out of there? Because you guys probably thought Travis was dead at that point.
Hey, when we took off, Mike says, "Look back, see if it's following us." Nobody would look back. Look back.
What were you thinking as Mike restarts the truck to get the heck out of there?
I thought the world was coming to an end. I thought it was. I thought the world was coming to an end. I thought they were taking over.
Were you fearful that they were going to follow you down the mountain? Because realistically, you're in the middle of nowhere. Were you afraid that they were going to follow you down the mountain and you might be next?
Yeah, well, that's why Mike's telling us to look back and see if it was following us. But when we stopped, it didn't follow us. We even saw it take off. So I'm pretty sure either that it was a star, but we saw it take off.
What did you see when it took off?
A white flash heading towards Area 51. I think that's where Travis was at, Area 51.
Over the years, you have debated whether or not this was some sort of alien subject.
Yeah. I don't think it had anything to do with grays.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later on. When you came down the mountain and you guys separated, where Mike and Alan went back up the mountain with the police and you guys went back into Snowflake, what did you do at that point?
When I went back to Snowflake?
Yeah.
I told my mom what was going on, and I don't think she believed me. As soon as I got home, I told my mom what happened. And then the next morning, when they went out there to look for him, the cops were at the door talking to my mom and telling my mom, "Yeah, we think he's dead and all this. You know, we're gonna go out there and find a body." And so I was listening to the conversation, and I grabbed my cowboy boots and I snuck out the back door. So I never went out there with them.
Were you afraid of the police at that point? Did you think, even before that conversation, that the word murder was going to be in your vocabulary?
I thought Travis was dead, and I thought they was going to find a body. So that's the reason I didn't go out there. How are you gonna run from 100 cops?
So they sent out a big search party for him.
Oh yeah, that was one of the biggest search parties, and at that time looking for Travis. There was like 100 people out there looking for him. When they couldn't find anything. They couldn't find nothing. That's the reason we had to take the polygraph test, is because they couldn't find anything.
When you found out that they didn't find a body, what went through your mind?
I was kind of relieved, but people still thought we killed him. That, for 5 days, the whole town thought we killed him.
What did your mom say? Because I know you thought, it was just you. I believe it was just you and your mom, correct?
No, I had a bunch of little brothers.
What was going through your mom's mind at this point? What was she saying?
Well, I've already caused that woman a lot of grief. My mom doesn't believe anything I say, so she's like Travis. She don't believe anything I say, even if I can prove it.
So she wasn't pestering you, saying, "Where's the body, Steve? What did you guys do up there, Steve? What was your role?"
Not really. She made sure that I was there to take the polygraph test. My mom was the only one allowed inside, because I was a minor and everybody else was over 21, and so my mom made sure that I was there to take the polygraph test.
How nervous were you?
I was scared. I wasn't saying anything, but the guy said that they picked me first because I wasn't saying anything because he thought I would crack. I ain't the reason I wouldn't say anything. I was taught that you're in trouble, you keep your mouth shut, and that's what I was doing because we were in some serious trouble.
What was the attitude like? Because in the movie it shows that you guys drew sticks to see who would go first on the polygraph.
In the movie?
Yeah.
Is that how they do it? I'm not.
Well, you mentioned during the break about drawing sticks. They said in the movie.
No, it's in the book.
Or in the book.
Yeah, the movie. You can't. There ain't nothing I can do about the book. It's the book that Travis wrote is wrong. It says in the book that we drew straws. We didn't draw straws. They came after me because I was the youngest and they thought I would crack. And if I cracked and told them what happened, they wouldn't have to go through everybody else. But it didn't work.
For those of us who've never been on a polygraph, what was that experience like, and what kind of questions were they asking you?
Well, I was scared to death. I was more scared that day than the day I saw Travis get zapped. This is they asked us if we did bodily harm to Travis, or I know who did hurt Travis, but the fourth question is, did we actually see a UFO? And we all passed it.
That is just, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. I'm trying to play a movie in my head as you're talking to see what was going on. And I can't imagine that feeling.
It's a weird feeling. What's weird is that everybody thinks you're a murderer. And then after Travis came back, everybody thought it was a joke.
Well, we'll get into that part in the next hour with Travis returning. When you walked around the community of Snowflake, Arizona after this happened, what was it like? What did you notice? How did people treat you?
They treated us really bad. They wouldn't talk to us. They would give us weird looks, and people would drive by my mom's house singing. As the song goes, Travis Walton, UFO, UFO, where'd Travis Walton go? They used to come by the house singing that song.
You guys went through a lot. I mean, you guys were accused, you guys were berated, people talk. I mean, you couldn't even get a cup of coffee or a lunch in town without people giving you the look that you
Yeah.
did something wrong. Was
Okay.
there anybody in town who believed what you guys had said about what happened?
No, not that I know of. I got people who still don't believe it. No, I don't remember anybody believing this.
They were just ready to hunt you down with pitchforks.
Yeah, yeah. They thought we killed Travis. Mm. Well, you really can't blame them. That was a big kind of a.
Outside of the polygraph, how many times were you hauled into the police station to chat with them?
Over this.
Yeah.
Oh, the 5 days that he was missing, there was a cop named Flake that was a city cop, and he hassled me a lot. He was telling me that we don't need a body to arrest you for murder, and even if you didn't do this, you know who did it, so that makes you a competent, you're just as guilty as the person who did it, and he bothered me he messed with me for 3 or 4 days trying to get me to confess.
Was this all in interrogations, or was it at times when, say, you were walking down the street and he would walk up to you?
Yeah, one time I was walking down the street and he pulls by me and he turns back around, so his door is facing me, and he rolls down his window and he's telling me that you might as well confess. You're fixing to take a polygraph test. We're going to find out anyway,
What was the reaction, as we got about 2 minutes to go here before break, from the police towards you guys when you guys all passed your polygraph tests that you had seen a UFO?
Gillespie couldn't believe it. He couldn't. He didn't know what. Gillespie didn't know what to think after that.
In the movie, they make Alan Dulles to seem like a real badass, that he was the rotten apple of the group. What was that like? What was Alan Dulles like? And was he, a little non-committal on his polygraph where they said that his answers were all over the map?
Well, the way I took it is that he didn't take it at all because, because he ripped it off because they were asking him if he killed Travis and he wasn't going to take it. So the first one, he didn't take it at all.
Well, there's some news we didn't know.
I mean, they had him strapped up and everything. What I understand is that because after we took the polygraph test, they took us out back where the prisoners sit, and so every 2 hours, another person would come back there because it took about 2 hours for each person to take the polygraph test, and it took all day.
That had to be tough. I mean, did they feed you while they were interrogating you? Did they get you water? Did they ever ask you to get a lawyer?
I don't remember ever asking to get a lawyer. They never asked us to get a lawyer.
Wow, how times were different.
All I wanted my mom to be there. That's all. My mom had to be there.
Right. Steve, we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. And when we return on Spaced Out Radio with Steve Pierce, we're going to learn how he found out that Travis Walton came back from wherever he was. How did he feel? What was the reaction of the community? The 50th anniversary of the Travis Walton incident with someone who is there on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Steve, we got about 6 minutes, okay? 6 minutes. Be right back, everybody. back. Let's bring Steve back in. Thank you all for listening tonight. What a great show. Jaquetta, how are you? Nice to see you. Woo-poo, nice to have you in the room. Who else do we have here? Dr. Bob, nice to see you. I think we're caught up. We are caught up. Big thank you tonight to our super chatters, Area 53 and Stargazer. Thank you very much for your love and support. Jessica McCreary, how are you? And of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. All new swag up there right now. All new swag. We're going to be making some more here in the near future. I tried to get some done today, but didn't have an opportunity to. So that'll have to wait. Dave Tiger Williams is here. He'll drop the gloves for you. And remember, if you're planning next year's holiday, come to 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. 2026 will be the Caribou Paracon. Make that the Caribou Con. CaribouCon.com. You can book your VIP tickets now. So I highly suggest you do. It's going to be a great weekend of festivities. Grant Cameron will be here. The ladies from Beyond the Haunting, Merle, Lee Strauss, Samantha Mowat, and many more. Here we go with hour 2. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We're going to get back to the Travis Walton story coming up here momentarily, as today is the 50th anniversary of this potential alien event. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Borborygmus. Borborygmus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Stephen Pierce was with Travis Walton the night that he was allegedly abducted by aliens. He watched the craft. He watched the beam come down. He watched Travis go falling back. And then they took off, and Travis disappeared. He remembers being on the polygraph. He remembers, wondering where Travis went. And that's where we're going to kick things off right now. Stephen, thank you so much for sharing your story 50 years later. My goodness.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your trust in allowing us to do this interview with you on this night. So thank you very much for that.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
You're going around for 4 days, getting harassed by police, ostracized by your community, people looking at you, giving you dirty looks, talking behind your back. You could probably just imagine what people were saying about you guys back then. They, like I said in the previous half hour, they were likely ready to string you up and hang you right there, judge, jury, and executioner, right?
Hey, they wanted to. They wanted to. They thought we killed Travis.
How did you find out that he had been found?
Well, I've been hiding out all week, and that night, it was on the 11th, and I was at a friend's house watching the news because we've been on the news all week, and I wanted to know about the polygraph test, and that's the night that I heard that the Edmund Fitzgerald sunk. It sunk the same day that we took the polygraph test, and it was 17 years old too when it sunk, and I was 17 years old when when I took the polygraph test. Kind of strange, but anyway, we're sitting there waiting and we're watching it, and then I went home later on that night, and that my mom told me that Travis was in a hospital in Tucson, but he wasn't, but that's what everybody thought. He was in a hospital in Tucson. That was the 11th.
Goodness. When you found out that he had been found, were you relieved? Were you
For my mom.
scared?
I was relieved for my mom because my mom thought we killed him. So other than that, I was glad he was still alive. Because it would have been hard to explain if he wasn't.
What was the reaction from the community when they found out that he had been found and alive?
They thought it was a joke after that. Everybody thought it was just a big hoax. Everybody just thought that Travis meant we all made it up.
How long was it before you had an opportunity to talk to Travis after that happened?
I've never actually talked to Travis. There was I think we all got together to take the pictures and stuff. You see that picture of all of us standing together?
Right.
Yeah, I didn't talk to him. Travis has never asked me what happened. Nobody's ever asked me what happened. I'm in 4 or 5 books, and there's a book that was out before Travis's book about fire in the sky, and there's things in there that I'm supposed to say that I didn't say. Mike told this guy what I said, and Mike has done a lot of things that he said I've said and didn't say. Mike's nothing but a liar, a two-faced, and a fraud.
You're not a fan?
Mike Rogers? No. He's a liar. That book, Travis, Mike wrote the first 5 days of Travis's book. And Dana Rogers, she typed it up as fast as she could. According to Mike. No, I'm not a fan of Mike's.
Do you still have a lot of resentment from what happened that day?
Towards what? What do you mean?
Towards the incident?
What happened?
Towards what happened?
No, not what happened. They left me out of the picture, for a reason. But I always got the short end of the stick of this whole thing. And then I get called the most names.
Is that because of your age? They just treated you like a kid, and that was it?
No, it's just that I've never made no money off of this. Nobody's ever asked me my side of the story. When they're writing a book or did the movie, I didn't even know they did a movie until I was in a truck stop in California in Barstow, and it was late at night, and I was getting fuel, and I went in there and paid for my fuel, and I went to the restroom, and on the way out, you're in a truck stop, they have TV rooms in there, and I went through the TV rooms, anybody was going to be driving, all night, and they was Travis on HBO talking about the movie Fire in the Sky, and this was like 92 or 93 or something like that, and then I didn't see the movie until 2010 or 2011 when I broke my neck. So it was years before I saw it. And then I saw the first part of it and it made me mad. So I stopped watching it. And it took me probably about 30 years to watch that movie, man, all the way through.
Why did the movie bother you so much?
Because it's a bunch of bullshit. Sorry. It didn't happen. I mean, I could see them exaggerating in the movie because, you know, they want people to come and watch it. But the book, it should, you know, actually both of them are. But the movie is not a bad movie. I think Maverick made the movie. James Garner.
Yes.
I did finally watch it. See, I don't watch UFO movies. I don't watch Star Trek. I don't watch. Now I've seen the old Star Trek, the black and white ones, but I've never seen the movies. I've never seen Star Wars, and I don't watch stuff like that.
It's never been your cup of tea, the UFO stuff.
No. I can remember being stoned and watching Land on the Moon in '69. Can you remember them landing on the moon in '69?
I wasn't even born. I was 2 years old when your incident happened. But you didn't know about the movie. You knew nothing. You after this incident, you kind of, what happened after it? Like, obviously, you didn't go back to work for Mike after this. What happened to you?
Well, I got married and we moved to a town next to Snowflake. It's called Taylor, and we lived in a trailer on a dirt road, and you could see the people coming from both directions, and you knew they were coming there. And one day a cop started coming down the road, and his name was Jim Click, and the wife at the time asked me, says, "What'd you do this time? You know, here comes the cops." And he came up to the door. He told me that this guy named Philip Glass said that if I say it was a hoax, that he'd give me some money. And at the time, I just blew it off. I didn't know who Philip Glass was. I never even seen a picture of Philip Glass until 2011. It was the first time I actually, because, you know, they didn't have the internet back then. And want me to keep going?
So UFO skeptic Philip Glass
Yeah.
was trying to bribe you in order to say it never happened.
Well, bribe is not the right word, I don't think, but he offered, I think he offered that to anybody that could prove that it was a hoax. So even when I moved to Texas, that he would call me, on the phone, and you know, want to prove that it was a hoax.
You turned it down.
Yeah. Because you couldn't prove it didn't happen. I mean, you couldn't prove it did. You can't prove it did happen, and you can't prove it didn't happen. So, because only Travis has got is his witnesses. If it wasn't for his witnesses, he wouldn't have a, you know.
You lived a pretty tough life, though. After that, I know you are recovered. I know that you spent some time in jail. I mean, you lived a pretty tough life after this happened.
Yeah, yeah. I spent some time in jail. I stole my uncle's truck. They all thought I was insane after this. They still do, but they stole mine first. But judge told me two wrongs don't make it right. But they wanted me to go on probation and pay my uncle restitution, and I told the judge no way. And finally, I seen the judge 3 times, and he finally, because they keep violating my probation, and the judge finally says, I'm going to give you an ultimatum. Either you do the 7 years probation, pay your uncle restitution, or I'm going to give you a year in prison. And I told him I'd take the year in prison.
And that's where you were in prison with Alan Dallas.
We were in the county jail together. We were never actually in prison together.
Okay. When you saw Alan in jail, did you ever talk about the incident?
Yeah, we stayed up all night and talked about it. That's the reason he told me that night. That's the reason he went back to face his fears, because of what he did with the floorboard. Because when it first happened, he hit the floorboard. I mean, he tried to dig his way through the floorboard. That's when I scooted over and I had a perfect view, Yeah, we talked all night. And then the next day I went to court and I came back and he was gone, and I never saw him after that.
What was his opinion of what happened in those conversations you had?
He thinks that it was mind control. He didn't believe it was aliens either. He kind of believed the same way I believe.
Why don't you believe it was aliens?
Just I don't believe I believe that National Enquirer had started the great alien invasion.
Could it be that it's maybe a coping mechanism from the PTSD that you have from that incident?
You think I have that?
As someone who has been taken and as someone who has had close encounters with a couple of UFOs, I think many of us who do have a close encounter situation like that do have some sort of UFO PTSD, if there is such a thing.
Yeah. Well, it'll change your life. That's for sure.
On the last interview we did with you, you stated, and you've stated here tonight, that, looking at the way the craft departed, you said it was likely heading for Area 51. How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, back then, I never heard of Area 51, but through the years, looking at it, and I know where Area 51 is now, I just believe it went towards Area 51.
And there's about 330 miles, I believe, in between Snowflake and Area 51, and it darted off in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably about 300 miles. But in a plane, in a craft, it'd be there in no time.
Very true. Very true. You look back on this incident now, 50 years later. How do you feel about it?
It's been a pain in my ass. Sometimes I wish I would have quit with my uncle and cousin. People don't believe you. They treat you different. You don't know when to bring it up and when not to bring it up, because you don't know how the people are going to react when you tell them, because a lot of people still don't believe, and it just, you never know how somebody's going to react when you tell them the story. Like, I had a girlfriend once that wanted to talk to Travis. Well, she wasn't actually a girlfriend. I was just seeing her for a couple times. But anyway, she said she wanted to talk to Travis, and we've been drinking and partying and stuff. And so I said, okay, that's when me and Travis was talking. And I called Travis, hey, she wants to talk to you. So she gets on the phone with Travis, and she goes off on him. She just cusses him out, calls him a liar, telling him, so, you never know how somebody's going to react. We were doing a conference in New Mexico, and some woman, she was drunk, and she got up and she went off the deep end, calling us liars, and finally they had to escort her out the door.
Why do you think people would do that if they were not there?
I don't know, man. Some people just totally freak out over it.
Over the years, how much have you tried to put this story behind you and not admitting that you're a part of it and a part of this unique history?
Well, I did it for a long time. When I went to start driving truck, I left it behind. And then when I broke my neck, I was home, and my daughter wondered. I got the movie, and I told my daughter that was me, and that's how it all started. I got a hold of Travis, and Travis told her that, yeah, that's him. That's how it started. If it wasn't from my daughter, I probably would have never came out of the closet.
Coming out of the closet to admit that you were a part of that after being silent for so long. Okay. Was that something for you that you just wanted to put behind you, much like a bad divorce or, a piece of history that you didn't want? Or do you think that you were trying to put it behind you because maybe it still scared you to this day?
I don't know. It's still scary, I don't know about that one, but
How about when you were trucking all those years, driving alone at night on some very dark, desolate highways, cool wind in your hair, to quote Hotel California? Did you ever catch yourself looking up at the sky, wondering if maybe it would come back?
all the time. I was, it was back then. It was called Highway 666. They changed it to 491 because it was the mark of the beast, I guess. But anyway, I was on Highway 666 and between almost into Shiprock, New Mexico, and there was a bright object following me, and then it got on top of me, and then I pulled over to a gas station, and it was closed, and it was out in the middle of nowhere on a reservation somewhere, and I got out of the truck, and I was up on the steps and looking at it, and the next thing I remembered, it was the next morning. They were beating on my door, telling me I had to move my truck because they was fixing to open the store up.
Hold that thought. Maybe you got taken. Maybe you got taken that night. Got missing time. I've heard that type of story before. We have Steve Pierce here for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. The real story about what happened to Travis Walton 50 years ago tonight. Fire in the sky. We'll be right back. listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. What's happening, people? You having fun tonight? If you have any questions, put them in capital letters, please, because I will get to audience questions in the next half hour. Grant Roger, I meant to tell you last night, Grant, that I was actually up in Quesnel on Monday. I almost decided to stop near the museum. We're at the museum. Yeah, this is a gooder. This is a good show. Show you something here, guys. Will give me 2 seconds. Share screen. Share. All right. If you're looking to go to CaribouCon, which we'd love to have as many Spaced Out Radio listeners here as possible, September 18th to 20th, 2026, if you're coming from the U.S. or anywhere else, you will need a passport to cross that border. Show you our guest speakers. You're going to like this. Look at that. Grant Cameron, Karyn and Leanne from Beyond the Haunting television show, and Destination Haunted. I know this guy. You might not want to see this guy. Apparently he's a jerk. There's Merle, Samantha Mowat, Lee Strauss. You're familiar with them. R. Keith Andrews and his pork chop sideburns will be up here. Brent Thomas, B. Arthur from Paranormal Portal. He'll be here. Paisley Town. Love her. Numerologist. Christian McLeod. Cryptid Gee is coming on up. And Courtney Marcassani. And Jacob Rice. That's a good lineup, people. That is a good lineup for a Paracon, don't you think? So what you do, just click on the green button. Get your tickets now. It's an all-weekend event. If you're a VIP member, you literally will get to mingle, take in a ghost tour, maybe go to one of my Sasquatch spots, do some sky watching with Lee Strauss. It's going to be great. Tickets are on sale now, CaribouCon.com, CaribouCon.com. I know Paramarv will put up the link, or Tim will put up the link in the chat room. It's going to be a great weekend getaway, guys. We're doing it for you. So make sure you check it on out. Let's bring Steve back in here. Hold on, Stevie. We got to go that way. There you are. Simply Coco, how you doing tonight, my dear? What's your drink of choice? Please let us know. I think she might be going hard tonight. Maybe a little absinthe. Probably not. All right. Who else has joined us here? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was up in that area, Grant, on Monday. All right. We got 30 seconds. Thank you to our 2 super chatters, Stargazer and Area 53. Appreciate that. Where's it, Area 54? He's Area 54. And we got 10 seconds, Steve. And here we go, everybody. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Steve Pierce will join us for the next half hour here as we talk about the 50th anniversary of the Travis Walton incident. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Steve Pierce from Fire in the Sky. He was there. Did not see the movie until 2010. It had been out 16 years at that point, but finally decided to check it on out. You hated the movie, Steve.
Yeah, because it was all wrong, and no, at first I didn't like it. It took 4 or 5 years after that before I could watch it all the way through.
What didn't you like about it? What would really upset you about it?
Oh, the way it started off, and Mike being the hero, and going back looking for himself, looking for Travis by himself. Mike was the biggest coward out of all of us.
You have no love for Mike Rogers.
I have no love at all for Mike Rogers. After this,
let's go to some audience questions. Start off with Shelley here. Did you have to go to therapy, and were you diagnosed with PTSD or anything else because of this incident?
No. I never went to therapy. And no.
Just suck it up and keep on
So
trucking.
you think I got PTSD?
I'm not qualified to answer that. I'm a man who just asks the questions. I don't mean to dodge that question.
I've been told that already.
Do you think you do?
I don't know what it is, so it's just something I've lived with my whole life.
Let's quickly get back to right before the break where you pulled over your truck because you saw something. And you woke up in the morning to a knock on your truck door.
Yeah, I was asleep, and they were beating on my door, telling me I had to move because they were going to open the store up. But I don't remember from the time I got out when I got out of the truck, because you ever seen a semi? They got those steps on the fuel tank, right? Well, I was standing on the stairs on top of the fuel tank, and looking up, and next thing I remember, it was they were beating on the door.
How long did you have that sighting for?
It was behind me for a little while, then it got behind top of me. I don't know, a good 5 minutes. So,
what made you pull off the road to look at it?
I was just wondering, it's happening again. Cause I was curious. I had to know. I had these. I stopped and get fuel one time, and there was these two girls that I didn't see at the gas station at the fuel stop, right? And one I didn't know, and the other one I did, but she recognized me, and she was leaving. They were leaving Las Vegas and heading to Provo, where we both lived, and so the lady she was with was in a black car, and so they decided to follow me through leaving Las Vegas into Arizona to St. George, and when I got through St. George past the scale, I pulled over at a rest area, and it's not there no more. But anyway, I got out, and they were back there just laughing. They thought it was funny. You thought we were men in black?
My goodness.
But I have been. I was in a graveyard a while back, and this car pulls up. It's all black, and I laughed to myself. It's men in black, right? And I'm sitting there and smoking a joint, and I get through, and I start to walk out of the graveyard, and they pull alongside me, and I walk to the right through the path, and they had to go out to the street. They went out to the street and made a right, and they went down a little bit to the next parking lot, and they waited for me to get down there, and one got out of the car and started taking my picture and then jumped back in the car and took off. That's happened to me a couple times.
Why do you think people would still be following you?
I don't know. Because I go to some strange places.
Are you big into the paranormal world?
Very much so. I believe this has the aliens and the paranormal has got it's together somehow, some way, you know what I mean?
I would agree with you on that.
I just can't explain how, but to me that they belong together somehow.
Well, you can come meet us in Las Vegas in May when we do our annual Spaced Out Radio party there.
In Las Vegas?
Yeah. I'll let you know. Everyone's invited.
Let's see, how far is Las Vegas from here? I'm in LA, so it's only 5 hours from here?
4 hours.
Yeah.
Let's go to Paul here. Steve, did you have to leave that area and move somewhere else after it all went down? Small towns can get weird.
I couldn't find a job after that, around there. Nobody would hire me, So yeah, finally we had to leave. But it didn't matter wherever I went, they found me. People chased me for years after that.
When you say people are chasing you after years, it's because they want to hear the story or that they want to bug you about it?
They want to bug me about it. They want to know if it was a hoax, I've had people come and be my buddies, and then just turn around and stab me in the back because they just want to know if it was a hoax or not. You know what I mean? So people in ufology are cutthroats, and most of them are only out for themselves.
So it's been an uncomfortable lifestyle.
What, people in ufology?
No, just in general, people trying to take advantage of you. because of this?
Yeah, well, they take advantage of me, but they want to make all the money. They want to make you go do something and they want to take all the credit, I'm used to that. Jennifer Stein, she did a thing about Travis, and she told me that it was only going to be used one time, and come to find out she made money off of it, and she told me that she was going to, but I don't remember her saying that. But anyway, it don't matter. It's just that these other people, they want your story, but they're the ones who want to make the money from it. You know what I mean?
And here you are just wanting to live your life.
Well, I haven't made no money off of it. I probably made a couple $1,000 since 2011. So out of this.
But a lot of people hearing that would say, is that what it's about, Steve? Is the money, or is it about the story? And
Well, to me, it was about the story at first, but I wouldn't mind getting a little bit of it.
I don't mind you there. Paramarv is asking, much has been made about the growth of the trees in the area based on the tree rings. Do you believe that this encounter had any good or bad health effects on the crew or the forest around it?
You want my opinion on the tree growth?
Yeah.
When you have a garden and you take all the weeds out, the garden grows better, right? That's exactly what we were doing. We were thinning the forest out so everything else had more room to grow, okay?
Right.
The rings that are facing one direction, well, when that sun comes up, the sun only hits this side of the mountain between like 2 to 3 to 5 in the afternoon, right in there, right? Well, them rings are going towards the sun. They grew so fast because it was like a garden. So no, I don't think. And as far as the radiation goes, I think Travis, Mike made all that up too. He says that two guys came up to him and he showed them the hard hats, and they found radiation on it, and the guys disappeared. Well, why didn't you go to Gillespie? Because Gillespie had all the same equipment there. You know what I mean? Gillespie was the head of the posse, and he didn't go there. And a few other things. I don't believe there was no radiation.
You have been back to that area. What's it like being there now, 50 years later?
It was kind of freaky. I was there about 2 months ago or something like that, and it was kind of freaky. We heard some weird noises while we were up there. It was late at night, and we heard some howling noises and stuff, and my girlfriend wanted to get out of there, so we left.
Being up in that area for that time, just your thoughts on did you get a lot of flashbacks as to what went on?
Yeah, I've been having flashbacks all day.
Tell me about those.
It feels like you're living it all over again. I really thought Travis was dead, and that's what scared me the most, because I thought Travis was dead.
When you kind of looked back on it today, outside of the Travis aspect and him potentially being dead, what else was going through your mind? I mean, we all look back and think, man, I used to be that young. I used to be that handsome, or I used to be in shape, because when you get to our age, you do things either by age or by pounds. And I do things by pounds, right? But, you know, looking back on everything, did you just kind of take the time to, reminisce of all the crew? I mean, because like you said, you're out of the people who were in the back seat of that truck when that incident happened, you're the only one who's still alive.
Yeah, I feel bad about, but I really didn't know these guys, so I knew John from only in 2012 when we made the Paranormal Witness, when we went on their TV show. We never met nobody. They filmed me in Hollywood, and the woman that was behind it, they're from England, and John got a hold of her and telling her that he wanted to get a hold of me, so she sent me a text saying that John wanted to get a hold of me, and that's how me and John hooked up. So me and John didn't see each other from 1976 to 2014, 15, something like that.
Let's go to another audience question here. Let's go to Jessica. I wonder if the people that freak out have PTSD for being abducted. These are the people who are complaining, yelling at you, being a liar, a fake, a cheat. It didn't happen, because they blow a gasket because hearing you maybe makes it real for them. Have you ever thought about that?
I haven't thought about it that way before, I guess. Hey, I've been called a lot of names. And I've been threatened. My email, I had an email that was only with people with ufology that was on it, and steve.pierce@hotmail.com. And last time I went on your show, my laptop was hit, and that email doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't work. Something happened to it. Everything on it was gone. So.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's get to another question. Let's go to Jules here. Were you there when Travis returned? Do you recall how he looked, beard growth, etc.? Or did you stay right away from that?
I didn't see Travis until about a week later or so. The first couple nights they said he was in Tucson, but actually he was at his brother's house in Phoenix. It was a while before I saw Travis.
How did he look when you saw him a week later?
He looked a little different. Ugly as ever. He looked a little different. He looked shook up.
Did he look disheveled?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to ask him when you saw him a week later what happened? Did he answer you?
He never really told me what happened. I heard it through other people, We all did meet him one time, but it was more to take pictures than anything.
Right. Do you feel a little let down because of that? You didn't hear it from the horse's mouth?
Well, it kind of makes me mad that, you go 50 years and they tell stories about you that isn't true. And people say, well, why do you get so upset over this? Well, if you went 50 years about you, someone wrote something that, in a book about you, it ain't true, you wouldn't like it either.
Let's go to Tony. We got about 4 minutes left, my friend. Steve, could you please describe the craft once again and, tell us what it looked like?
It was like 2 cake pans on top of each other, okay? But it was solid white, and you could see like frames coming down, like window frames. You say window frames, maybe, oh, it was a window. Well, you couldn't see what was inside, but you could just see the metal pieces coming down, and it was white. It was an awesome color.
About the size.
The bluest green light to zap Travis, that lit up the whole sky. And the whole sky just lit up.
That craft that you saw, about the size of a vehicle, a truck, a bus?
I'd say it's the size of a vehicle, yeah. Well, maybe a little bit longer, 30, 40 feet. It wasn't a mothership of,
Right. Tartar wants to know, was there any temperature changes when this happened?
I could feel the flash of the heat when it came by and zapped Travis. When the beam came out, you could feel the heat from the.
Wow, what did that feel like?
It felt kind of weird. I'm not sure, so I don't know if I'm telling the truth here or not. So I might be wrong, but Kenny, they said Kenny might have something wrong with him because I guess he was partly out the door during the flash,
Mm-hmm.
and but there ain't nothing wrong with me.
Derek wants to know, did Travis ever tell you if the government did testing on him against his will after the abduction?
Travis ain't never told me anything about anything. We don't talk. We don't get along at all.
1 minute to go, Steve. I know that you're not going to be doing many interviews after this, because that's kind of what you had told me. So I'm going to take your word for that. What do you want people to know looking back 50 years later?
Don't believe everything you read. And don't believe everything you read. But I think the government is got more than they're telling, and I believe the Roswell has something to do with Operation Paperclip, and this is what I believe.
And on that note, we have to get ready to say goodnight to you, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me. I was going to make some jokes, but I decided not to make any jokes.
Well, you know what? You could have talked to anybody on this planet about this subject today, and the fact that you reached out and said, hey, Dave, I want to come on Spaced Out Radio on the 50th anniversary, that shows me what kind of person you are, and you're an honorable man, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Hold on right there. Coming up next, we're going to the swamp, and then Katie Page is here. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. Good job tonight, Steve. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I hope we did okay.
You were amazing as per usual. And I'll let you go get some rest now. And I really do thank you for this.
Hey, thank you. You have a good evening.
Stay in touch, okay, buddy?
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Steve Pierce, everybody. What a class guy. Absolute class guy. I'll be right back, guys. I am back. Let's bring in the lovely and talented Katie Page. There she is. Look at you with a second screen now.
You know what they say about flattery and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks good. Looks very
Thanks.
good.
Thank
How
you.
you been, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am good.
Good.
50 years since Travis Walton today.
Oh, it is the anniversary, 1975.
Yeah, Steve Pierce, who was just on, he was in the truck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang it. I wish I would have. I'll watch it tomorrow on the replay.
You can do that for free.
Yeah.
Thank you to Simply Coco, Cat Chaser, Area 53, and Stargazer for the super chat. We appreciate the love. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, including our latest Chupacabra holding onto a bottle of tequila while leaning on a cactus. Looks great. Go check it out. Here we go.
That's great.
Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. This is a great show tonight. If you've missed it, you want to check out our archives. They're always free. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Borborygmus. Borborygmus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. When I was 18, I was interrailing through Europe with my then boyfriend, and we were on a train between Rome and a port town in Italy. We would be getting to a boat to Greece the following day. We hadn't pre-booked any accommodation, as we found it really easy to get a hostel either en route or at arrival. Most of our previous destinations were just like this, and as we'd been arriving in the town at nearly midnight, we decided to have a look for hostels whilst on the train. Unfortunately, we found that there really wasn't much of accommodation where we were heading, as there had been in other more major cities that we had visited, and that the places we could find were mainly hotels and way out of our price range. We were discussing this quandary amongst ourselves, my ex suggesting we slept at the station, when the guy sitting next to me on the train randomly struck up a conversation. He was really enthusiastic and chatty, and spoke pretty good English, asking about our trip so far, where we were from, and just sort of general chit-chat about ourselves. He also said that he had overheard our accommodation problem, and that he knew a perfect hostel for us, very close to the station and run by a friend of his. Initially, this just came across as a useful bit of information, but alarm bells started ringing for me as he became very insistent that we must stay there, and that if we mentioned his name that we had sent him, you could basically stay there for free. He wrote down an address and his name on the piece of paper and virtually had me promise that we would go there. After I given him my word to stay there, he stopped talking to me entirely, which I found quite odd. He'd been so warm and talkative and then just totally shut off. He also made 3 phone calls, none of which I could understand other than he said the word interrail a few times. The rest of the journey passed in slightly uncomfortable silence, and when I got up to get off the train, he just said, "Remember, the address." We arrived in the town. It was late and pretty deserted. Nothing like the big touristy cities we had been used to, and I made up my mind then that we were definitely not staying in this quote-unquote hostel. My boyfriend was slightly annoyed, as I admittedly am a very paranoid person, but something just felt really off. We ended up checking into an annoyingly expensive hotel, literally a stone's throw from the station. As I was so creeped out, I didn't want to go wandering off through the empty streets at night. While I was at the hotel, I decided to look up the address he gave us. And first things to say is that if you Googled it, there was no mention of it being a hostel or a guest house or anything. It just came up as a street address. And secondly, if you put it into Google Maps, it wasn't anywhere near the station. It just looked like a normal building in a residential area way out of the city center. I know that all this may have perfectly been innocently explained, but I think this guy may have ran a hostel from his home, and the train guy was just overly eager to promote business for this, but it could have been a lot more sinister, a lot more dangerous.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories right there for you to choose from to keep you up at night. All right, let's get back to the show. Katie Page is here with the encounters. Katie Page from Rocky Mountain Ranch Research joins us each and every week for a little ditty we call the Encounters. And, you know, we just had Steve Pierce on from Fire in the Sky, the Travis Walton incident, and he was only 17 years old when that incident happened. And, you know, this is still a story that is mired in legend, lore, controversy. What's your thoughts of the whole Travis Walton incident?
Well, you know, the 70s, that's kind of my jam because of the ranch. So, and Travis and I know him pretty well and have talked to him quite a bit about this. And I have to say, the things that we uncovered on his return, which was November 11th, 1975, the two interceptors that were scrambled after a UFO in Elbert County, Colorado, out of Buckley. And then we had the two interceptors out of Falconbridge. They had the Falconbridge, Ontario sightings that same morning that Travis was returned, and then they scrambled jets and admitted scrambling jets, the Air Force, after unknown UAPs that morning out of Selfridge, Michigan, over the Great Lakes. And then the Edmund Fitzgerald goes down, you know, that same day. So, you know, the day of his return, there were so many things. Jets scrambled across the country, mysterious things happening. And so I did a deep dive on that. And I was telling Travis that Richard Haynes' collection, which he really focuses on pilots and stuff, that whole month, and that especially today to the 11th, there was all sorts of things reported by pilots during that time. So I always considered Travis to be haunted by this. I mean, I know that it's affected his whole entire life, and I just couldn't imagine, you know, be in his shoes like that. I think it's been hard for him at times.
Talking to Steve, he has such a different perspective on what happened. And one of the things that he spoke of very much was that being only 17 years old and the youngest person on the crew, it was kind of like they didn't want him to talk. They didn't want him to be a part of it. And he felt extremely ignored over the years and decades about this event, you know, that nobody asked his opinion. And then he's seeing books being published on it where he's allegedly quoted, never gave interviews for it. You know, he didn't see the movie until 2010.
Oh, wow.
You know, and that was 16 years after the movie came out. I mean, he's tried to forget about it. He battled alcohol. He battled drugs over it. You know, it was a very tough time for him. So to get a different perspective on the event, it's very hard to try and figure out truly what happened, because he to this day is still not sure, and he was reliving every moment of it today.
Wow. Yeah. When you have something like that impact your life, it's with you forever. No doubt.
Oh, for sure. What do you got for us tonight, my friend?
Well, as you all know, I've been going through the states alphabetically, and drum roll, we are on Colorado. Colorado is a state I know a little bit about. That's my home. So I'm thinking, boy, we could talk all day on Colorado, but so many interesting things. And what I'm looking for are the more unknown, obscure cases. So I have been using the UFO decks that Ryan Wood has put together, and I encourage people to check it out, ufodex.com. You can go in there and ask any questions you want, and his very unique data set will pull up answers for you. So I've been looking for those obscure cases, but just really quick before I get to those from the UFO decks, I would like to, I used to be the Colorado MUFON state director for several years and was a part of Colorado MUFON for quite some time. I'm not anymore. I've kind of moved on to other things, but I got to see a lot of cases that came in. And one of my favorite cases, and something I like to tell people all the time, is there are really good UFO cases that come in that are daytime sightings. And I have one of those that was out of the state of Colorado. In Douglas County, Colorado, a woman was getting up, not into this topic at all. She was on her way to work out there. And so this is kind of near the ranch of my childhood. And she sees something unusual just above the treetops. And she's watching this thing. And she said it's kind of shifting and morphing shape. So she pulls the car over. I tell people, if you see something, pull the car over. And she's like, what am I looking at? Am I looking at a bird? What the heck is this? And as she's trying to figure out what she's looking at, two fighter jets come right in at it. And she said they were so lower than she's ever seen. I mean, there's things scrambled out of Buckley all the time, which is now Space Force. But she said she's never seen jets fly that low coming right at this thing. And as she's watching this and freaking out and it's all loud, the thing just vanishes in front of her eyes. And of course, one of the jets goes east, one of them goes west, and that was it. But that was a really cool sighting. So that's number one. And then, of course, there's, the incident at Rocky Mountain Ranch. And you mentioned Travis Walton, 1975. And for me, in the height of what was going on when I was a young girl, was 75 to 78. So I have a soft spot in my heart for all that. And talking with Travis about, does he feel like a connection has stayed with him through these encounters and different signs and synchronicities? It certainly has. And I find that side of the phenomenon just as interesting as the UFOs and the ETs that may be behind them. So a lot of things happening at the time. Linda Moulton Howe got her start out there investigating all the animal mutilations. So when I asked the UFO decks for more obscure cases in Colorado, of course, a lot of cases came in southern Colorado, which is near the San Luis Valley. So we had the 1967 Snippy the Horse case that we just recently reopened and did the updated book on. But this case comes out of 1967 as well. It was in southern Colorado. They don't give the exact area, but I'm assuming it's pretty near the San Luis Valley. And they call this a hairy dwarf encounter. And this is very reminiscent of what was going on in 1954 out in Venezuela. And people were reporting seeing these small, hairy, bipedal creatures associated with UFOs and orbs. They were about 3 feet tall, covered in hair. And this is interesting. They were exhibiting behavior that were both animalistic in nature and also very intelligent. So that's kind of interesting right there. And then in the 1990s, out in the San Luis Valley, they were reports of what they call pod people. Strange, partially translucent. And I'm kind of thinking like Terminator, in the movies where they're up in the trees and they're kind of that translucent. This is how these people are described, or entities. 2-foot long creatures, which is an interesting way to describe a creature. 2-foot long creature that darted around yards and even appeared inside homes, only to vanish into thin air. It said these entities left no tracks and their movements defied explanation. In one case out there in the valley, a dog dug up a bone from the spot where a creature disappeared, suggesting a possible connection to the animal mutilations. And of course, it wasn't just Snippy the horse. There were other horses in the valley that were mutilated, many cows. The ranch right next to Snippy the horse was called the Dead Cow Ranch. They had so many different cattle mutilations out there, but also sheep. There were reports of dog and things like that. So of course, this particular case of these pod people was in the 90s, but so much in the 70s as well. And they're still going on to this day.
Really?
So, and along with these pod people were these phantom fires. And we found numerous accounts of this as well out there in the valley, where they thought there were wildfires, but then they'd go and there was nothing burned, no trace of the fire. So are these orbs that people are seeing, those big orange orbs? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've heard a lot recently about these phantom fires where people claim to see fires in the mountains, and then it's just like a set of lights that will all of a sudden take off.
Right. Do you think they're like the orange orby things that they're seeing, maybe?
I think that's exactly what they're seeing.
Yeah.
What?
I think so too. I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, it is scary. It is scary to think about, because how can you put it? How many firefighters have been called out to these phantom fires, and they know nothing about them? And when they get there, there's nothing there. There's nothing burning. There's nothing smoking or smoldering.
Yeah. Or like if I was to see something like that, I'd think, is there a car on fire or some accident that happened or whatever? So yeah, that's pretty frightening.
No, absolutely.
Right.
And these pod people, I've never heard of them.
No, I haven't either. And there was a couple cases of those. And here, this one too, this mutilated pigs. So we've heard a lot of different animals. This was also in the 1990s. It says an isolated farmer found 3 dead pigs mutilated with a machete type of knife. And I'm not sure if that means that the cuts look like a machete type of knife, because normally we see these clean cauterized incisions. But he does say there was no blood, no tracks, no evidence of a struggle. And after burying the pigs, the farmer heard digging at night, which is creepy, and confronted a dark figure attempting to take the carcasses out of the ground. It said the Colorado Bureau of Investigations was involved, and the case remained unsolved. So what's interesting about this is just this past weekend, I was invited out to the Black Forest, which is really near the Rocky Mountain Ranch, to investigate an ongoing set of unusual paranormal type things that are occurring right now on this 8-acre ranch out there in the Black Forest. And the Black Forest has many, many unusual activities, and they're getting like phantom cars turning on, trunks opening up, things that were reported even back in the 70s from the ranch years. They had a fence, so they have chickens and turkey and milking cows and some pigs on their property, and they have this fence that is like crimped, like there's 20 of these crimps. It's not easy to open. And he came out one morning and the thing was just open and the crimps were still there. Like, how does that even happen? Animals can't do that. And so this last weekend, when we went out to investigate, I walk out in the back field and there's a heavily wooded area right there next to this like volleyball net. And I saw a dark shadow. So when I read this dead pig and this dark figure, I just saw one last weekend. It freaked me out. And it wasn't a quick sighting either. It was a solid 1 second, 2 second, 3 second that I just saw this thing go like this. It had to be 6-7 feet tall, but it wasn't like solid. It wasn't a Bigfoot sighting. It was a dark shadow.
That's creepy. I went out to my spot, collect my trail cams, because I don't think I'm going to get back there for the remainder of the year and until spring next year.
Right. Too
So
cold.
I pick up my trail cams, my one camera by my gifting site. The only thing that I literally caught was the butt of a squirrel almost sitting on my trail camera. And on my other camera, though, nothing paranormal, but I did get a little martin jumping because I had it stationed underneath a log, and I got a little martin in the air jumping from
What
the
is a
log.
martin?
They're like a weasel,
Oh,
a bigger weasel.
didn't you
And
catch a mountain lion recently?
and then there was the mountain lion picture.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty incredible. I didn't expect to see her.
Yeah.
But she was healthy.
Yeah, she looked like it. I saw that picture. Our neighbor right here on their cam, it wasn't this last year, but the year before, had a big old mountain lion. So yeah, you have to be careful. They're out and about.
Oh
They
yeah.
try to stay away from people, but I
And if
certainly
you're
wouldn't go walking around out here at night.
and if you're ever in the forest and you see or hear, pardon me, whistling that doesn't sound like people, that means there's a mountain lion nearby.
Yeah, have you ever heard their mating calls? It sounds like a woman screaming.
Believe it or not, this summer had my window in the studio open, and there was one walking down my street doing that.
Yeah. Doesn't it sound like a woman screaming?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It
Me,
was pretty intense. Pretty
me
intense.
and
I'm
me and
sure.
my kids were camping in Medicine Bow, Wyoming years back, and we heard that in the middle of the night, and we thought a woman was screaming. So here's my 18, 19-year-old boys getting their knives out, and we were going to go hunt down. I'm like, what are we thinking? But no, it's pretty, it sounds just like it. How much time do we have? Do we have time for one
We got
Northwest
2.5
Territory?
minutes.
2.5 minutes. Let's do one for Northwest Territories, and then we will do more of these next week because I have a bunch more from Colorado and from the Northwest Territories and Canada. But I like this one because have you ever heard of the Nahanni Valley or the Headless Valley?
I love that story.
Oh my gosh. It's early 20th century. So we're talking 1960s. And they said the Nahanni Valley, often called the Headless Valley, and infamous for a series of mysterious disappearances, decapitated prospectors, and legends of strange creatures. So this is, of course, um, people talk about these mountain people or the Nukluk, hairy human-like beings that were basically seen with balls of fire, silent glowing objects and orbs moving through the air at night, sometimes hovering over the river. Additionally, they were plagued by these phantom fires. Again, the phantom fires that would ignite and vanish without a trace, often in connection with UFO sightings. But what's with the decapitations out there? That's pretty terrifying.
I actually heard a story from a few years ago where a television documentary crew was going in there, and they actually have the area cordoned off.
Ooh, I hope so.
And they limited film time, basically saying you have 1 hour to film.
That's scary.
Okay.
What do you think it is?
Well, here's the story. They get dropped off by the helicopter. Helicopter takes off, circles around, comes back, picks them up, and said, "We got to get you out of here." That's all that was said. You can't stay here. It's not safe. We got to get you out of here. I personally think that it is a very rogue pod of Sasquatch that want to be left alone, because when the bodies that were decapitated, they weren't cut off. Like if it was like a First Nations tribe that wanted to its privacy, that still was living, like it was, 1099, then I could see them using some sort of knife or something. There'd be cut marks. These were ripped.
Ugh.
Arms were ripped off. Heads were ripped off. Legs were ripped off. These were ripped, not bitten. Not bitten like you would expect a bear or a mountain lion. Not like that. Katie Page and the Encounters. We got her for about another 15 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott. that whole corridor between Alaska, Yukon, and into the Northwest Territories is absolutely screwed up.
That's what I'm reading here.
I had a friend of mine, name's Amber. She moved from Northwest Territories over to Newfoundland. And while she was in her U-Haul truck moving her stuff, she swears to God that over top, just north, still in the Northwest Territories, but above, I believe, Saskatchewan, that for a while a Wendigo was chasing their truck.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You know, you don't hear too often that aggressive of Bigfoot. I mean, typically they'll throw rocks or bang on trees, but to rip arms, and I mean, that's pretty terrifying. And yeah, and the behavior of that, the helicopter people just not saying, like, they know they're there. Like, I think you're right about that, Dave, that they must be aware of an aggressive family or pod. Is that what you call them? Pods of Bigfoot?
I just called it that. I don't know what the hell they're called.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
but it is something that is, you know, it's a scary area. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, for a lot of, you get a little bit of it in Colorado, because Colorado is still, even though you have a lot of beautiful cities and towns there's still a lot of untouched areas in Colorado. Now multiply Colorado by about 50.
I know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what you have. What a lot of Americans don't realize is 90% of the Canadian population lives within 100 miles of the US border.
Huh.
So if that's 90% of the population, you only have 10% that is north of 100 miles from the border.
Wow.
And that's where you get like into territories like mine. And these creatures, they rule the forest. The animals rule the forest. We're just visitors to their area. And the more north you go, the bigger the animals get. So does that mean if you're going to have, say, where you or I are, where we have like a big black bear is like 400, 500 pounds, you go up north where you have Kodiaks, you have grizzlies, you have brown bears, you have, well, eventually up top, polar bears, they get up to like 1,500 to 2,000 pounds, you know? So how big are the Sasquatch up there? Are they 15 feet tall? Are they 20 feet tall? Because they're going to have to compete for food source with other predators.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. I mean, I read somewhere, and is this true that Canada, the whole entire country, has less people than the state of California?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And 90% of them are within 100 miles of the border. My son's in Canada right now, my middle son. So I'm like, he's in Winnipeg.
Okay. He's where Grant comes from.
Okay.
Yeah. There's only two things that happen in Winnipeg: mosquito season and hockey season.
I'll take the latter.
Right. Yeah, it's I think per square kilometers, Canada has one of the lowest population per square kilometer or square mile in the world. I think there's only 2.1 people per square mile in Canada.
And most of it's very forested, correct?
Oh yeah.
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 One
There's
of
around
you.
318 billion trees.
I saw this event that is taking place in Canada, and I'm thinking next year, if they have it again, I have to make plans to go. It
Well,
looks pretty awesome.
I may have some pull there.
All right.
Yeah. Just we're doing it on the cheap this year just to get it off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
and see what the public reaction is. So,
Well, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be a good event. Yeah, I'll go through it at the end of the show. We got 15 seconds. Thank you to Shelly, Stargazer, Area 53 or Area 54, Cat Chaser, and Simply Coco for the super chats. I love you. Thank you very much to all our new subscribers. And here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Katie Page and the encounters will continue right after this. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Katie Page is here from the Rocky Mountain Research Ranch, and we're at the Encounters. We went to the Northwest Territories. Where are we going next?
We're staying in the Northwest Territories. So have you heard of Trout Lake?
There are many trout lakes in Canada.
Well, this one I think is called Trout Lake, but June 25th, 1967. So this was right around the time of Snippy's mutilation. And this is an interesting one because it's multi-witnesses. So Deborah was her name, and her brothers and a group of children, while traveling near Trout Lake, witnessed a brightly lit disc-shaped object with flashing red and green lights. The object hovered silently, then descended and appeared to submerge into the lake. That's why I like this case, because we hear of these, right? The either UFOs that hover over waters or lakes, they seem to maybe suck up the water sometimes. And I think last week I mentioned all these sightings off both the East Coast and the West Coast of these lights that are seen under the water. So this kind of reminded me of that as well. But what's interesting is these people, these witnesses, claimed that this caused a tingling sensation and loud noises. And then the family's car radio experienced static interference during the event. It left the witnesses shaken, of course. And also in the area, there was a lingering ozone like smell, you know. So again, it makes me wonder, and in reading more and more about Canadian cases, you guys have tradition of the lake monsters and UFOs flying in and out of around water. I think there's something to that.
A lot happened in 1967 up here. Okay. It was the 100-year anniversary of Canada.
Huh.
Not only that, it's the same year the Falcon Lake incident happened with
Right.
Stefan Mikulik
Yep.
in Manitoba. It's also the same year that Paul Hellyer, when he was Minister of Defense, cut the red ribbon on a UFO landing pad in, I believe it was, I know it's in Alberta somewhere. And basically there's a sign that says everybody and everything is welcome in Canada. Okay.
That's great.
And then shortly, a few months later, in October, is when Shag Harbor happened.
Right.
So 1967 in the year of, it was like the year of ufology in Canada.
Yeah. San Luis Valley too. They were going back and forth.
Yeah.
Snippy the horse.
Crazy
and all
year.
that good stuff. Wow, that's amazing. So speaking of like this tingling and animal mutilations and that, this one was also in 1967 in how do I say this? Benau. Am I saying that right?
How's it spelled?
Bengough.
Dengoff.
Bengoff.
Bengoff.
All right. So this was a high-pitched whining animal reactions case. It says Miss Martha Hedges reported a high-pitched whining sound and saw a bright object hovering near her property. The family's animals fled the area, and the witness experienced tingling sensations again. So what's with that? The object eventually shot away at high speed. This case is notable for the animal reactions and the physical effects on the witness. So very similar to the Trout Lake incident, where they're claiming these tingling effects and the high pitched whining and humming. That was also very, widely reported in the late 60s. Throughout the 70s were these hum sounds, and I know there's certain researchers out there that believe if a UFO emits any like flames or makes hum sounds, or that maybe they're more terrestrial in nature. I don't know if I'm in agreement with that, because I mean, isn't it possible that ET's craft also evolved just like our own do? So maybe in the 60s and 70s they did make a low hum and now they're silent. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I don't
Why
know.
the change?
The whole UFO sounds just kind of trips me out a little bit.
Yeah.
It really does, because every UFO that I have seen, except one, has not made a sound. The only UFO that I have ever seen that made a sound was the first one I ever saw.
And what kind of sound did it make?
The way I would describe it would be like it almost sounded like the humming sound of a C-130 Hercules. It had a very deep monotone. Yes. Yes. Just like that. And
just like that.
It was funny because I literally saw, I mean, I'll use today's terminology, but it was like an orange Tic Tac.
Oh, interesting.
And where I lived with my parents at that time, I was going to college and I was living with my parents, and they lived up on this hill, and it was literally, as the crow flies, about 5 miles from our local airport. And our local airport shut down at midnight. And this was at about 2:30 in the morning. I was standing on the patio. It's summer night. And I heard this buzzing sound, because I've always been an amateur military aircraft buff. And so I know the sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded like a C-130. And I looked up in the sky, watched this orange Tic Tac out of the sky, and I watched it fly over top of the airport. Now, the airport at night is all black because they don't have any runway lights on, because the airport's closed. Everything gets diverted to Vancouver. And all of a sudden, the light went off. And then about 30 seconds later, the buzzing sound went off.
Interesting.
Yeah. That was my first ever UFO I saw.
Wow. And how old were you then?
I was 21.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. Okay. Do we have time for one more quick one?
We have as much time as you need.
Okay. Let's just do one more. Get it in here. This is called Yellowknife. Do you know where Yellowknife is?
Yes, that's the capital of the Northwest Territory.
All right. Well, in Yellowknife, there was a UFO landing and repair. This is in 1976. Again, another thing we hear more of in that time frame are these cases where they have landed craft in ETs, like underneath repairing, like the Socorro case and other cases like that. And I wonder how much of that is just like copycatting, reporting. No, this person is reporting a landed craft with ETs, but here we have a case in Yellowknife, Canada, out there. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that you don't hear that today. Do you ever hear cases of that today? I certainly don't. But this one says a group of prospectors camping near Yellow Fork repeated seeing a domed metallic object descended and land in a clearing. Through binoculars, they observed several small figures in silvery suits emerge and appear to work on the craft, on the underside of the craft. It also says that using tools that emitted blue sparks, the event lasted about 20 minutes before the figures re-entered the craft, which then lifted off silently. The next day, the witnesses found scorched grass and 3 indentations in a triangular pattern at the landing site. So there may be some possible evidence there. That would be a case I wouldn't mind trying to look more into to see what was actually researched there, you know. And then this one too, really quickly, in Nahanni National Park, they also claim to see the little men in a dome craft. Kind of correlates with that one. So no sound on that one. A circular patch of scorched moss at the site. So
wait until you get to the next territory over. Because you've done Yukon, you've done Northwest Territory. Now you got to go to Nunavut.
Right.
Okay.
That's my next one.
And look up the story of the missing people.
Ooh, all right.
They have, you know, like I believe in the U.S. you have the missing people of Roanoke.
Mm-hmm.
They have that up there in Nunavut.
Wow.
Where the entire community just vanished.
That's wild. Like mass abduction?
Don't know. Nobody knows. But they do know, just like in Roanoke, that there was signs that food was being cooked, water was being boiled, and all sorts of things. And these people just vanished.
Wow. All right. Coming up next week.
And the other part about that is they are so remote, there's no roads to get in there. You had to fly in.
Oh, man.
Yeah. They just vanished.
Makes you wonder about portals under the ground or.
Right.
Yeah.
It's weird. Katie Page from Rocky Mountain Research Ranch. We love it when you are here. Thank you for everything you do for Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you for having me. We'll see you guys next week.
Talk to you next week. Katie Page, everybody, it's time for the weird news of the week.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Loud noises! I am good at things, fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
We're going to start off in the beautiful state of Georgia. Why? Now, Mama Catherine, if you're listening, make sure you plug your ears because we don't need you to be influenced by this. But apparently, Georgians will step out on their spouse before they'll steal time at work. According to new data that reveals the Peach State's peculiar moral compass points directly away from the office and straight towards the bedroom. Why it matters? Well, Georgia brands itself as a business-friendly state built on reliability and ethics, but a new study shows residents save their integrity for the workplace and spend it everywhere else. Solitaire Bliss surveyed Americans across all 50 states about their everyday cheating habits, and Georgia's results painted a picture of a state that, let's just be honest, they're pretty horny. Yeah. A selective morality, as they call it in the politically correct term. Georgians rank second highest nationally for admitting to cheating on a partner, which is at 52%, and seventh highest for cheating on a diet, 84%. Yet when it comes to self-checkout theft or cutting corners at work, Georgians suddenly find themselves with a conscience. Only 30% of Georgia residents admit to cheating at self-checkouts, making the state sixth lowest nationally for retail theft. More telling, just 26% say they've cheated at work to get ahead, the second lowest rate in the country. The tax line splits the difference. About 18% of Georgians admit to cheating on their taxes, landing the state at 11th highest nationally. high enough to be notable, low enough to maintain plausible deniability. The data suggests Georgians have internalized the state's decades-long pitch to corporations. We're reliable, we're business-friendly, we won't cheat on you. They've just decided that promise doesn't extend to their personal lives. The disconnect is sharp. A state where more than half of the residents admit to infidelity somehow maintains one of the lowest rates of workplace cheating in the nation. Georgians will betray their marriage, but they will not fudge around on their timesheets. How do you figure that? Wow. I don't know whether to be impressed or ashamed. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get to another one. This one's actually kind of scary. Let's go over to Japan. Japan has now deployed military troops to the country's rugged north. Why? They have to trap bears after local authorities said besieged communities were struggling to cope with an unprecedented wave of bear attacks. The operation began in Kazuno, a small town nestled among the forested mountains that has seen a sharp increase in bear sightings. For weeks, residents have been urged to avoid the thick woods and stay indoors after dark to keep clear of the bears foraging near their homes for food. In BC, where I live, we call this Wednesday night. Yeah, makes sense for the latest ESG trends affecting companies and governments. Well, this is going on. Even if it's just temporary, the help from the military is a big relief, says one resident who oversees the town's bear department. I used to think bears would always run away. Then they heard noise, but now, or when they heard noise, pardon me, but now they actually come toward you. They're actually truly frightening animals, he added. There have been more than 100 bear attacks with a record 12 people killed across Japan since April, according to the Ministry of Environment. 2/3 of those deaths were in Akita Prefecture, where Kazuno is located, and nearby Iwate. I apologize if I butchered those names. In Akita, authorities say bear sightings have jumped sixfold this year to more than 8,000, and attacks are on track to set a new record, prompting its governor to request help from the self-defense forces last week. The townspeople feel they're in danger every day, says Mayor Shinji Sasamoto. After a meeting, 15 or so soldiers who rolled into town in an army truck and jeeps equipped with body armor and a large map. It has affected how people live their lives, facing them to stop going out or to even cancel events. The troops were there to transport, set, and inspect steel-barred traps used to capture bears that are later shot by trained hunters hired to cull the population. On a mountain roadside near the town, local forestry officials showed soldiers how to assemble and load traps onto trucks. The white helmeted troops carried bear spray and were guarded by others with shields and long wooden poles shaped like rifles, usually used for bayonet drills. I thought maybe something was on fire, said one local resident who stepped outside to see what was happening, her radio blaring to scare off bears. We all try not to encounter the bears, but we hear about people getting attacked, she said, declining to give her name. You know what? Like I said, in British Columbia, we have seen actually a rise of grizzly bear attacks. Yeah, few people have been killed this year by grizzly bears because they have a moratorium on hunting the bears. So the bears know they have no predators now, except maybe Sasquatch or a dog man. But literally, it's the reality is there. And true story. Every night after the show, I go out to look at the stars or the clouds or just catch some fresh air. And it hasn't happened in 10 years yet, knock on wood. Been in my house where my studio is for almost 10 years. And I'm absolutely paranoid that one day I'm going to open up my carport door and boom, there's going to be a bear right there. It happens. You have to live with it. That's what happens when you live in their territory. But you still don't want them in their territory invading your property. especially when they're foraging for winter. They're kind of grumpy at this time of year. Let's move on. Here's a weird one. All right. There was a figure caught on video through the window of a historic government building that appears to be a woman. Some say that she was naked. Others say she wore a light robe. From her second-story height, she looked briefly at the protesters walking outside in Mexico. But one pulled out their cell phone camera, took a picture towards her, and walked into the dark out of sight. The footage taken this past April during a teacher's protest over wages in the main square of San Luis Potosi, a city in central Mexico, shot around the internet and raised all the obvious questions. Who was this person? Why would she be dressed or undressed like that in a state government building? And did she have anything to do with the governor or another state employee? The governor's suggestion drew only more attention. It could be the ghost of Charlotte, the only empress in Mexico, a woman whose short and turbulent 19th century reign transformed her into the legendary figure known as Carlotta. Her remarks drew national attention to the mystery, as well as jokes, skepticism, and criticism of the governor, who has been accused of trying to divert the focus from the teachers' protest, his government spending, and other issues. If it had been a ghost, everyone would have reacted in that moment, said Leo Torres Hernandez, one of the teachers protesting that day over what they call unpaid wages. But we didn't. It was not a ghost. Someone was there. It even drew a brief comment from President Claudia Sheinbaum. We must always respect public places, especially historic sites. Months later, the questions around the figure in the window remain resolved. No one has come forward as the person nor publicly been identified them. No, there were hundreds of teachers protesting that day, and it was not clearly exactly recorded who recorded the video, although they're still not sure. Was she naked? Was she dressed? Was she a ghost or was she human? It's a weird photo indeed that you might want to check out. Big thank you to Steve Pierce and Katie Page coming on tonight. Of course, Swamp Dweller as well, as we say goodnight to them. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. There we go. Another good show, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. You did well tonight. Almost done. Oh my goodness. All of a sudden I've forgotten how to type. All right, everybody. That's a good show. Way to get it done. Tomorrow night on the show, Mark Christopher Lee will join us to talk about the Rendlesham Forest incident. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Thank you tonight to Shelley, Stargazer, Area 54, Cat Chaser, and Simply Coco for the super chats. Thank you to all our members being here. And don't forget that you want to make sure that you are here for Paracon or CaribouCon 2026. Tickets are on sale now at CaribouCon.com. Make sure you go check them out. Get your VIPs. There's a lot of tickets available, but only 50 VIPs. So you make sure you want to get those, okay? We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Thank you for a great night. We'll see you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.